every writer and their mother has heard of NaNoWriMo, and even those of us who haven't yet participated have read articles, watched videos, and seen posts regarding the event. With Fictober and Preptober behind us respectively, November is a writer's month to shine. Everyone likes to feel acknowledged, and writers are no different. Of course, NaNoWriMo is more than a writing challenge, or even a well-intentioned website. It's an opportunity, both for writers struggling to finish a rough draft, and for those looking to take their writing to the next level. You've probably heard the rules before, but for those that haven't, it's fairly straightforward. Beginning from the 1st of November, you have 1 month to write a novel, or 50,000 words. For most genres, 50,000 is technically a novella, but it's still a substantial amount for those struggling to crank anything out. Moreover, even if you were planning on writing a longer book, such as something along the lines of 100,000 words, you'd still have half of your draft completed. Whether you consider your rough draft to be complete or not at the end of the month, those are the rules. If you write 50,000 words and submit them to the website as proof, you win the challenge. That said, the fun doesn't stop there, and there are a number of benefits to participating in the program, beyond the excuse to stop procrastinating. From connecting with others, to exploring the website's plethora of resources and articles, here are 6 reasons you should do NaNoWriMo this year. Reason number 1, prevent procrastination. This is the most obvious reason on the list. But writers, like most creatives, are notorious for procrastinating. There could be any number of reasons you've delayed starting that book. You might be frightened of how others will react to your work. You might doubt yourself. Or you might be suffering from writer's block, lacking the creative drive to commit to any one project. Whatever your problem is, NaNoWriMo is a final push. You may have tried any number of methods to keep your butt in the chair, but when all else fails, NaNoWriMo, as with any challenge, gives you a mixture of accountability and fun. Even if you don't win the challenge, it still feels good to have contributed, and it's always special knowing you're a part of something. For a myriad of reasons, creative people like to procrastinate. But NaNoWriMo removes the last of your excuses and forces you to prioritize your craft. The novel you complete at the end of the month doesn't have to be good either. In fact, as a rough draft, it will probably be a hot mess, even if it's beautifully written. Still, you can't edit a blank page, and for many writers, simply finishing that first draft is the greatest hurdle. By completing something, you'll have not only a project to edit, but some bragging rights. After all, published or not, it always sounds good when you can boast to others that you've finally written that book. Reason number 2, a community of writers. Among all the professions, writing can be one of the loneliest, though it doesn't have to be. Even those of us with high word counts can become too caught up in our own heads. We struggle to see the forest for the trees, or is it the trees for the forest? And we can fall into one of 2 traps when we don't have other eyes on our work. We think our writing is terrible, or we think it's masterful, when the truth is that our work probably lies somewhere in the middle. Many writers suffer from a lack of confidence, an easy pitfall when you don't have anyone else cheering you on. Worse, many feel isolated in their profession. Writing isn't the most rewarding career, aside from the joy of writing itself, and it's an easily misunderstood craft. From parents who just see it as your quirky hobby, to friends who joke they're going to write a book too, it can feel like nobody else gets it. However, there is a whole community of writers out there. Whether you haunt various Discord servers, scroll through Facebook groups, or follow other writers on your favorite social media platforms, it doesn't take long to find your tribe. Moreover, NaNoWriMo as a massive event is something that connects all of us. Maybe you don't know what to say to other people, or you're afraid to share your work, but NaNoWriMo both gives you something to discuss and an excuse to share the work you're pumping out. Since you're writing in a rush, nobody will expect your work to be Pulitzer worthy. And when the going gets tough, you'll have a shared event to commiserate over. NaNoWriMo, more than anything, is a talking point and another commonality for our lonely band, and it can be your entry point into interacting with others. Number 3, free resources. NaNoWriMo is more than a website with a shiny challenge attached to it. Their website comes with resources, as well as a link to their own blog. You'll find a program for writers, numerous articles on the craft, and discussion of how you should approach your novel after it's complete. After all, writing the book is only the beginning. Following the completion of your rough draft, you then need to edit it, and the website is happy to offer you resources that will guide you in doing so and connect you with editors. Scroll to the bottom of their page, and you'll also find additional links to their blog, the events they're hosting, and their YouTube channel, where you can find everything from writing advice to exercises and recordings of their virtual write-ins. There are no shortage of websites, social media accounts, or YouTube channels to follow if you're looking to improve your craft. But one more can't hurt, and NaNoWriMo is as legitimate as they come. Beyond the challenge, the hosts behind it provide resources and tools year-round, and it's worth investigating what they have to offer. As a quick aside, be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying this video so far. Number 4, validation for your writing. In my earlier point, I mentioned how lonely writers can feel, and part of that sense of isolation comes from being misunderstood. You either get it or you don't, and to non-writers, we can look silly. We spend hours sitting in our chairs writing about non-existent people, or staring off into space while we test a scene in our heads. Even those who accept our writing still likely see it as no more than a fun hobby. It's treated with the same deference as playing a video game or reading a book. Though I might add that there are people leading successful careers doing those things too. At the end of the day, no one is going to take your writing seriously until there's a paycheck attached to it. And that can be crushing. Whether you make money from your work or not, you, as a writer, understand that the value of what you do comes from more than how many dollar signs it can generate. There is value in the work itself and what it offers you. There is value in the hours you devote to making something from nothing and learning all the time. Writing itself is valuable, and NaNoWriMo forces you to acknowledge that. When you win the challenge, you don't earn a monetary prize. Instead, you earn validation. And before that, you are given permission to treasure what you do. Too many writers put their work on the back burner because they've been told there are more important things to focus on. If it's not making money, your writing has to come last, whether it's the time you dedicate to maintaining your home, to pursuing a profitable side hustle, or caring for your family. There are any number of reasons you might tell yourself that your writing has no value. NaNoWriMo, though, forces you to shift your priorities. It won't be for everyone. In some cases, there are things that are more important than writing. If you have an infant to care for and you're the sole breadwinner, writing can't be your first priority. And that's valid. Not everyone is privileged enough to devote themselves to their book, and that's okay. That said, there are many people who simply won't allow themselves the time. They'll always find something that's more worthy of attention, as if writing is some shameful thing you do when the adults aren't watching. If you're in a position to do so, however, NaNoWriMo can shift your thinking. It might not be permanent, but for 1 month at least, you can put your writing first. If you have supportive parents or an easygoing partner, you might even be allowed to devote the month to your writing before any other considerations. At the very least, NaNoWriMo validates your craft and your determination to devote yourself to it. Even for those who think writing is a waste of time, at least from a financial perspective, a challenge is easy to understand. If you tell your friend that you're writing to be a competition, they're more likely to be encouraging, even if they've never so much as picked up a book. Number 5. It creates a habit. If you're serious about writing 50,000 words in 1 month, you'll need to have some kind of plan. Hopefully, if you participated in Preptober, you'll already have an outline, but that's not enough. After you've figured out what story you're going to tell, you'll need a plan of execution, which is easier said than done. Most advocate for breaking any great task, whether that's renovating your house or writing a full-length novel, down into smaller tasks. Thankfully, books are literally engineered to be broken into pieces. This is because reading a book can be difficult for people too. And so books are divided into chapters to make the endeavor manageable for people. This applies to writers too, as chapters can be a great way to get words down. Writing one chapter sounds a lot easier than writing a book, just like planting one tree is easier than laying down a whole forest. Other writers approach their stories differently though. They might write a set number of words, lay aside an hour or two each day, or write a paragraph every time they have a break at work. Personally, I go by chapters. When I've tried to go by word counts, I found the continual glances at my word counter distracting. Worse, this fixation on the count in the first place made writing feel like a chore. Writing a chapter, however, wasn't distracting at all. Some chapters are short and some are long, but I could focus on the story itself until the scenes I wanted to cover were finished. Going by chapter won't work for everyone, but if you can figure out what works for you and then stick to it, you will have created a habit. Even after November is done, you will still have this habit. It takes 21 days to form one, and NaNoWriMo, being a month, will give you more than that to get into a routine. You might not beat the challenge, but you'll have still learned what works for you when it comes to churning out consistent work. Reason number 6, a sense of achievement. At the end of the challenge, you'll have something else, a sense of achievement. Nothing, not even money or praise, is quite as satisfying as that feeling you get when you know you've completed something. As a kid, you didn't have to be the winner to feel good about crossing the finish line at a race. You simply took pride in yourself because you ran the race. When people participate in a marathon, they're not trying to finish first. They're trying to finish, period, because that's an accomplishment in itself. If you can tell your friends you wrote 50,000 words in a month, even the non-bookworms will be impressed. However, you're not doing it for them, though it does feel good to brag a little. You're doing it for yourself, to prove not only that you can, but that you care enough about yourself and your writing to do so. Not everyone will beat the challenge, but everyone who participates can say they tried and share what they have accomplished. If you only manage to write 10,000 words, that's still something. if you could write 10,000 words every month, you'd have a finished rough draft before the year was through, which is more than George R.R. Martin can say. You don't have to be the best. You just have to try and keep trying, because NaNoWriMo gives you permission to. Plus, if you do beat the challenge, the sense of accomplishment you'll have will be huge. This isn't to say you'll be able to maintain such a momentum through the rest of the year, but it will give you a boost and just make you feel good about yourself as a writer and as a person who can get shit done. Whether you just need the push to stop procrastinating, a way to connect with others, or an excuse to value your work, there are several reasons you should participate in NaNoWriMo if you're feeling stuck. In addition to giving you a kick in your pants, the website has resources, including those which can help you after you've written your book. They have articles that can teach you the skills you need as a writer, and their challenge will give you a win when you complete it, something every writer sorely needs. Of course, as you go along, you want to make sure your story is worth telling. As you plan your book, you should check if it has certain elements. Even books which don't sit within the most popular genres can be given more commercial appeal. And if you want to know which elements can give your story, whatever it is, that necessary spice, click on the video on the left. And if you're suffering from a writing slump and need to get out of it ASAP in time for the challenge, click the video on the right, where I go over the 4 reasons you might be creatively stuck. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching and happy writing!